They told me I was the best, elite recon, tier 1, the kind of soldier they send when everyone else is already dead. I wore that badge with pride once. Now it just feels like a curse, because being the best means you're still breathing when you shouldn't be, still walking when the ghosts pile up behind you like a funeral procession. I've seen colonies burn, watched fleets crack open like eggs in the void, held teammates while they bled out in my arms, begging me to tell their families they died brave. I lied every time. There's nothing brave about dying in a war we're losing. But on Deck 7 of the derelict Karshen dreadnought, 3 kilometers of frozen death floating through contested space, I touched her hand. And everything I thought I knew about this war, about them, about what it means to be human in a universe that wants us gone, it all shattered. Because when her eyes opened, silver and infinite and wrong, a voice spoke inside my skull in a language I'd never heard but understood perfectly. You have activated the weapon. My name is Marcus Hale, 32 years old. Born on New Cascadia before the Karshen Dominion glassed it from orbit. I was 14 when I watched the sky catch fire. When my mother shoved me and my sister into an evacuation pod meant for 3 and stayed behind because someone had to manually launch it. I can still see her face through the porthole, calm and steady, like she was just sending us off to school. The transport took a hit 2 minutes after launch. My sister didn't make it to the trauma bay. I held her hand the whole way down. It was cold by the time we landed. The Navy found me in a refugee camp 6 months later. Angry, broken, hungry for purpose, they fed me, trained me, turned that rage into something useful. 17 years later, I'm the tip of humanity's spear. First in, last out. The guy they call when the mission is suicide but someone has to try anyway. I've run ops on 40 worlds, killed in 9 different gravities, learned to move like smoke and strike like lightning. Elite recon doesn't do glory. We do results. We're ghosts with guns, and the Karshen fear us more than they fear their own gods. The war has been grinding on for 23 years now. It started when we colonized Kepler 442. A beautiful garden world right on the edge of what we thought was empty space. Turns out it wasn't empty. The Karshen Dominion, a 6-species empire spanning 200 worlds, considered that sector theirs. They sent a diplomatic envoy demanding we evacuate within 30 days. We told them to respectfully shove it. They sent a battle fleet instead. We lost 40,000 colonists in the first hour, 3 defense stations in the first day, and our innocents somewhere in between. The Karshen didn't want to negotiate. They wanted us gone. Extinct if possible, subjugated if necessary. They're not monsters, not really. That would be easier. The Karshen are cold, logical, ancient. They've been playing the galactic empire game for 6,000 years while we were still painting on cave walls. They see us as children with nuclear weapons, dangerous primitives who'll destabilize the entire sector if left unchecked. They have a point. Humans don't do subtle. We don't do slow. We expand fast, burn hot, take insane risks that would horrify any sane species. The Karshen believe in order, in hierarchy, in evolution measured across millennia. We believe in grit, improvisation, and the fundamental right to tell anyone who says we don't belong to go to hell. So they've been methodically pushing us back, system by system, world by world. We win battles, but they win wars. They have the numbers, the resources, the technology. We have desperation and humans who refuse to quit even when quitting is the smart play. It's not enough. We're losing. Slowly, inevitably, we're losing. My squad got wiped 3 months ago on Tarvis Prime. We were supposed to disable a Karshen supply depot, standard hit and fade. Intelligence said light security, automated defenses, in and out in 20 minutes. Intelligence was wrong. It was a trap. They knew we were coming, had 2 full battalions waiting in the wings. We walked right into it like academy cadets on their first patrol. I lost 7 teammates in the first 90 seconds. Jackson, my spotter for 4 years, took a plasma burst meant for me and died before he hit the ground. Chen held a choke point for 3 minutes against impossible odds so the rest of us could extract, screaming at us to run, run, run. I heard her die over comms while we were 200 meters away and climbing. I got out, barely, burned, half dead, dragging Ramos who'd taken shrapnel through both legs. We holed up in an abandoned mining station for 6 days before rescue found us. Ramos didn't make it. I held pressure on his femoral artery until my arms went numb, watched his eyes glass over while he whispered about his daughter, about missing her 5th birthday. He was 28. Command gave me 2 weeks leave and a commendation. I spent it alone in my quarters, staring at the wall, wondering why I was still breathing when better people weren't. Then they called me back. New mission. Critical. Volunteers only, but they were asking me specifically. A Karshen dreadnought had gone dark in the Sigma Octanus drift. No distress call, no debris field, just silent running and drifting off course. Intelligence wanted to know why. Fleet wanted salvage. I wanted to stop thinking about Ramos's daughter and whether she knew her dad died calling her name. So I volunteered. They sent me in with a skeleton crew, 6 specialists and a pilot. Fast insertion, hard burn to the dreadnought, dock and sweep. Find out what happened, grab anything valuable, get out before someone noticed. The ship was massive. 3 kilometers of Karshen war machine, bristling with enough firepower to crack a moon. Completely dead. No power, no heat, no life signs. Just darkness and cold, and the kind of silence that gets inside your bones. We split into teams. I took Deck 7, engineering section, because I'm stupid enough to go alone into pitch-black metal tombs where entire alien crews vanished without explanation. My suit lights cut through the dark like knives, revealing corridors frozen in time. No bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle. Everything just stopped. Coffee cups still sitting on consoles, half-eaten meals in the mess hall, computer terminals logged in and waiting. It was like someone hit pause on reality and forgot to press play again. I moved deeper, checking rooms, scanning for anything useful. The dreadnought's reactor was cold, not damaged, just offline. Life support cut out cleanly, not failing gradually like a malfunction. Whatever happened here, it was deliberate, controlled. That scared me more than violence would have. The Karshen don't abandon dreadnoughts. These ships are their pride, their power projection, worth more than entire planetary systems. Walking away from one is unthinkable, unless something made them. I found her in what looked like a medical bay, though Karshen anatomy made it hard to tell. She was lying on an examination table, surrounded by equipment I didn't recognize, wired into machines that had long since powered down. At first, I thought she was dead. She didn't move, didn't breathe, just lay there perfectly still in the frozen air. But my suit's bioscanner pinged active life signs, faint but present, like something hibernating. She wasn't Karshen, wrong body plan entirely. Roughly humanoid but taller, maybe 7 feet, with skin that shimmered between silver and deep blue depending on how my light hit it. 4-fingered hands, elongated limbs, face that was almost human but not quite. Like someone sculpted a person from memory and got the proportions slightly wrong. Beautiful, in an eerie, uncanny way. She wore what looked like medical restraints, thick bands across her chest, arms, and legs, the kind you use when you're keeping someone secure, not comfortable. I should have left her, should have reported it, let the science team handle it, followed protocol. But something about the scene bothered me. The restraints were too heavy, too serious. The equipment around her looked more like containment than treatment. And there was a symbol on the wall behind her, painted in something that glowed faintly in the dark. I didn't recognize it, but my gut recognized the feeling it gave me. Warning. Danger. Stay away. I moved closer. Her face was peaceful, almost serene. Whatever she was dreaming about in that frozen sleep, it didn't seem like a nightmare. I ran a secondary scan, trying to figure out her species, her condition, whether waking her would kill her. The scanner couldn't get a clean read. Something was interfering. Some kind of energy signature coming from inside her body, like she had a reactor core where her heart should be. Professional curiosity warred with survival instinct. This was clearly something the Karshen had been studying. Probably something dangerous, and I was standing 2 feet away with zero backup and less sense. But she looked so vulnerable lying there, restrained and abandoned, left to die slowly when the ship lost power. No one deserves that. Not even if they're dangerous, especially not if they're dangerous because someone made them that way. I reached out and touched her hand. Her skin was cold, impossibly cold, like touching metal left in vacuum. But the moment my glove made contact, everything changed. Heat flared through the connection, sudden and violent. Her eyes snapped open, silver irises with no pupil, no white, just endless reflective silver like mirrors to nowhere. The restraints shattered, not breaking but disintegrating, turning to dust in an instant. She sat up in one fluid motion, too fast, too smooth, moving like gravity didn't apply to her the same way it applied to the rest of us. And then I heard it. Not through my ears, through my skull, bypassing sound entirely and drilling straight into my brain. A voice, flat and emotionless, speaking in standard English with perfect pronunciation and zero inflection. "You have activated the weapon." She looked at me, those silver eyes boring into mine, and I saw something flicker in their depths. Confusion, maybe. Fear. Then it was gone, replaced by something else. Something cold and purposeful and absolutely terrifying. She raised one hand, palm toward me, and I watched in horror as her skin split open like flower petals, revealing crystal structures underneath that began to glow with building energy. I threw myself backward, hit the deck rolling, brought my rifle up knowing it was useless, knowing I was dead, knowing I'd just made the single stupidest mistake of my entire career, and it was about to be my last. She didn't fire. She just stood there, hand outstretched, energy building and building, staring at me with those mirror eyes, waiting. The voice spoke again. Still flat, still emotionless, but with the faintest hint of something underneath. Struggle, maybe. Not target identified, human, eliminate. But she didn't. She just stood there, trembling, energy crackling around her like contained lightning, while I scrambled backward toward the door and the rest of my very short life. My finger tightened on the trigger. Not that it would matter. My rifle was designed to punch through Karshen armor, and she didn't have any. But something told me shooting her would be like shooting a star. The kind of fundamentally stupid gesture that ends with you vaporized and the universe unchanged. "Don't move," I said, knowing it was pointless, but needing to say something, to assert some kind of control over a situation that was already spinning into chaos. "Just hold on, we can talk about this." Her head tilted, bird-like, studying me with those impossible silver eyes. The energy around her hand pulsed, brighter, hot enough that I could feel it through my suit's insulation. But she still didn't fire. The voice came again, and this time I realized it wasn't coming from her mouth. It was coming from somewhere inside her, broadcast directly into the space around her like a radio signal. "Protocol requires elimination. Human contact initiates purge sequence. All human life within range must be neutralized to prevent cascade failure." "Cascade failure of what?" I asked, because apparently staring death in the face makes me chatty. "What the hell are you?" She took a step forward. I took a step back. We did an awkward dance across the medical bay while death charged up in her palm, and I ran probability calculations in my head about whether I could reach the door before she turned me into my component atoms. Designation, Shade Class Bioterminal, Purpose: strategic asset negation through targeted biological warfare. Status: active, bioterminal, biological weapon. They'd turned her into a living plague, a walking extinction event aimed at humanity. And I'd just powered her on by touching her like an idiot. Somewhere in the back of my mind, beneath the panic and the adrenaline, I felt a cold rage building. The Karshen talked about order, about civilization, about the proper way species should conduct themselves in galactic society, and then they built this. Built her. Turned someone into a weapon and locked her in a box until they needed to unleash genocide. "Listen to me," I said, backing toward the door, keeping my rifle trained on her center mass because what else was I going to do? "I don't know what they did to you, but you don't have to do this. You don't have to kill anyone. Just power down, shut off whatever you need to do, and I'll get you out of here. We have doctors, engineers, people who can help. Help is irrelevant. Function is absolute. Human presence detected. Elimination required." But her hand wavered, just slightly, just for a second, but I saw it. The energy flickered, dimmed, then surged back stronger. She was fighting it, fighting herself, or fighting whatever programming they'd shoved into her brain. My combat instructor at Academy used to say that hesitation gets you killed, that a soldier who thinks too much is a dead soldier. But looking at her, trapped inside her own body, weapon and prisoner all at once, I thought maybe sometimes hesitation is the only thing that keeps you human. "What's your name?" I asked. She froze. The energy in her palm stuttered, crackling uncertainly. Her eyes, those mirror-perfect silver eyes, widened slightly. When she spoke, for the first time the voice sounded like it was actually coming from her, not from whatever machine was running her nervous system. "Name?" Her voice was soft, musical, completely at odds with the flat mechanical tones from before. "I don't." "They didn't. Everyone has a name," I said, lowering my rifle a fraction. Probably the second stupidest thing I'd done that day, but committed now. "Before they did this to you, you had a name, a life, people who cared about you. That's still in there somewhere, buried under whatever they programmed you to be. Find it. Hold on to it." The mechanical voice cut back in, harsh and insistent. "Emotional engagement prohibited. Compromises operational integrity. Initiating hard reset." She screamed. Not the flat monotone, not the broadcast voice, but an actual scream, raw and agonized, the sound of someone being torn apart from the inside. Her whole body convulsed, energy discharging in wild arcs that scorched the walls and ceiling. I hit the deck as a bolt passed over my head, superheating the air, leaving ozone and burned metal in its wake. She fell to her knees, hands clutching her head, silver eyes flickering between mirror-bright and something darker, more human. I should have run. Every instinct, every hour of training, every lesson learned in blood and fire told me to get out. Seal the door, blow the section, and let vacuum take care of the problem. But I'd spent 17 years watching people die, watching friends bleed out in my arms, pulling bodies from wreckage and telling myself it was necessary. It was war. It was the price we paid. I was so goddamn tired of death. Even hers. Especially hers, because she hadn't chosen this, hadn't volunteered to be a weapon any more than my sister had volunteered to burn in Atmo when her transport took fire. So I did something incredibly stupid instead. I ran toward her, crossed the distance in 3 strides, dropped my rifle, grabbed her shoulders while energy still crackled around her like contained lightning. She jerked back, those silver eyes locking onto mine, filled with terror and confusion and something that looked almost like hope. "Stay with me," I said, gripping harder, feeling my gloves start to smoke from the heat radiating off her skin. "Don't let them take you. Whatever name they gave you, whatever programming they loaded, it's not who you are. You're not a weapon. You're a person. Fight back." The mechanical voice screamed in that soundless way, drilling into my skull. Contamination detected. Human sympathy corrupting core directives. Emergency purge initiated. All memory sectors wiping. Personality matrix dissolving. Weapon integrity must be maintained. No. This time it was definitely her voice, stronger, fighting through. No, I won't. I can't. Yes, you can, I said. And I don't know why I believed it. Why I was betting both our lives on the idea that whoever she'd been before they broke her could be stronger than whatever they'd made her into. I've seen humans do impossible things. I've watched people hold positions they should have abandoned, make sacrifices that defied all logic, choose hope when hope was stupid. That's what we do. We're stubborn. We don't quit. And if you've got even a fraction of that in you, even a spark, then you can beat this. Her eyes cleared. Just for a moment, just for a heartbeat, the silver faded and I saw actual irises underneath, deep violet, beautiful and terrified and alive. She looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time, like she was seeing anything for the first time in however long they'd kept her locked in darkness. Lyra, she whispered. My name was Lyra. Then the energy discharged. Not at me. At the ceiling, the walls, everywhere but me. A massive pulse that blew out equipment, shattered consoles, and knocked me backward 10 feet to slam into the far wall hard enough to crack my helmet display. My vision blurred, ears ringing, body screaming warnings about suit integrity and possible concussion. Through the chaos and the smoke, I saw her standing in the center of the room, energy fading, breathing hard, looking at her hands like she'd never seen them before. The mechanical voice was gone, just gone, like someone had finally pulled the plug. She looked up at me, those violet eyes wide and lost and utterly human, and said in a voice that shook, "What did you do? What did you do to me?" I climbed to my feet, every bone aching, and managed something that might have been a smile behind my cracked faceplate. "Woke you up, I think. You're welcome." Then alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Not just the deck we were on, but everywhere. A cascade of warning klaxons that meant something very bad had just gotten worse. My comms crackled to life, Lieutenant Vasquez's voice cutting through the static. "Hale, we have a problem. Multiple Karshen ships just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the drift, 4 cruisers and a carrier. They're launching fighters and burning hard for our position. We need to extract now." Of course the Karshen would show up now, probably tracking whatever signal Lyra had been broadcasting when I activated her. They'd left this ship as a trap, or maybe as a weapon they could recover later, and now they were coming to collect, or to make sure no one else did. I looked at Lyra, still standing there shaking, newly aware and completely lost. Leaving her wasn't an option. She was a person, not a weapon, and more importantly, she was intelligence the Karshen desperately didn't want us to have, which meant she was coming with me whether she liked it or not. "Can you move?" I asked. She nodded, uncertain. "I think so. But the ship, something's wrong with the ship. I can feel it. The reactor, it's not off. It's locked, deliberately locked. If someone tried to restart it, if they tried to power anything up..." She didn't have to finish. I understood. This whole dreadnought was a bomb, sitting dormant, waiting for someone stupid enough to try salvaging the reactor core. The Karshen had booby-trapped their own ship, turned it into bait for any human salvage crew that came sniffing around. We'd walked right into it. Vasquez, abort salvage operations. The reactor's rigged. Repeat, reactor is rigged. Everyone extract immediately. Static. Then, copy that. Team 2 and 3 are already back on the shuttle. Team 1 is pinned down on Deck 4, Karshen fighters strafing the hull. They can't reach the airlock. Team 1, Rodriguez, Kim, and Okafor. Good soldiers, good people. pinned down while enemy fighters turned the corridors into a shooting gallery, and we had maybe 10 minutes before the Karshen fleet got close enough to reduce this whole dreadnought to scrap. I grabbed my rifle, checked the power cell, and looked at Lyra. Can you fight? I don't mean like before, like a weapon. I mean, can you defend yourself? Because we're about to run through hostile territory to rescue 3 humans from an alien death trap, and I could really use someone watching my back. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You want me to help you? After what I almost did? You didn't do it. That's what matters. Everything else is just noise. She looked at her hands again, at the crystal structures that had been weapons moments ago, now dormant beneath her silver-blue skin. Then she looked at me, and I saw the decision form behind those violet eyes. Not calculation, not programming, but choice. The most human thing in the universe. Tell me what to do. We ran. Through frozen corridors lit only by our lights, and the occasional emergency strip still clinging to life. Through sections that groaned and buckled as Karshen fighters strafed the hull, their weapons tearing through armor plating that was never meant to take fire from the inside. Lyra moved like liquid, faster than anyone had a right to move. But she stayed with me, matched my pace, covered my angles without being asked. Whatever training they'd burned into her neurology, it translated well enough. Deck 4 was a war zone. The Karshen hadn't just sent fighters, they'd sent boarding pods. Small craft that latched onto the hull and vomited out soldiers in powered armor. Team 1 had taken cover in what looked like a command center, using overturned consoles and structural supports as makeshift barricades, while enemy fire chewed through their position. Rodriguez saw me first, his dark eyes going wide behind his helmet. Hale. Thank God. We're down to our last magazines and these bastards just keep coming. Where's backup? Backup is me and her, I said, nodding toward Lyra, who'd pressed herself against the wall beside the doorway, looking at the Karshen soldiers with an expression I couldn't quite read. Everyone else is extracting. The ship's rigged to blow and we have about 8 minutes to not be on it anymore. Who's the civilian? Kim asked, sending a burst down range that caught a Karshen soldier in the shoulder, spinning them around. And why does she look like she belongs in a Karshen genetics lab? Long story, short version, she's with us now. Lyra, can you do that energy discharge thing without killing anyone specific? Like, just in a direction. She looked at me like I'd asked her to perform surgery with her teeth. I don't. Maybe. The programming is still there. I can feel it. But it's not controlling me anymore. It's more like tools I can access, but I don't know how precise I can be. Good enough. On my mark, hit the left corridor. Rodriguez, Kim, Okafor. When she does, we push right, leapfrog to the airlock. Tight formation. Watch your corners. Lyra, your tail end, Charlie. Make sure nothing follows us. They didn't question it. That's the thing about good soldiers. They adapt. Weird alien woman who was maybe a weapon 5 minutes ago. Sure, why not? Add her to the fire team and deal with the philosophical implications later when everyone isn't actively dying. Mark. Lyra raised her hand, palm out, and I saw the crystal structures unfold. Energy gathered. Building. That same terrible power from before, but focused now. Controlled. She released it in a tight beam that carved through the left corridor like a cutting torch, superheating metal, flash vaporizing anything in its path. The Karshen scattered, falling back, their tactical formation breaking as they tried to avoid being cooked in their own armor. We moved. Fast and smooth, textbook small unit tactics, covering each other's sectors, moving like water through the obstacles. Rodriguez took point. Kim and Okafor covered flanks. I stayed center. And Lyra did something I'd never seen before. She flowed between us, reading our movements, anticipating our needs, providing suppression exactly where we needed it, exactly when we needed it. Not because of programming, but because she was choosing to, learning us in real time, becoming part of the team through nothing but pure adaptation. A Karshen soldier popped up from behind a junction box, plasma rifle tracking toward Okafor. Lyra was faster. A precise burst of energy, not the massive discharge from before but a surgical strike, took the rifle out of the soldier's hands without even touching them. They stumbled back, shocked, and we were past them before they could recover. "Airlock ahead," Rodriguez called. 60 meters. "Fighters inbound," Kim countered, checking her tactical display. 2 of them, coming around for another strafing run on this section. "Lyra, can you—" "On it." She broke from our formation, sprinting ahead with that impossible speed, reaching the exterior bulkhead before the fighters completed their turn. I watched through the viewport as she pressed both palms against the metal, crystal structures glowing bright, and then the entire section of hull began to resonate, vibrating at a frequency I could feel in my bones. The fighters came in, weapons hot, and the hull became a giant tuning fork, their own engines triggering the frequency to spike, disrupting their systems, sending them tumbling past in an uncontrolled spin. "How did you—" I started. "I'm the programming," she said, breathing hard, looking surprised at herself. "It has hundreds of applications for the energy manipulation. They designed me to destroy, but the tools can be used for other things. I just had to choose how." We reached the airlock. Our shuttle was still docked, waiting, but the Karshen cruisers were closing fast, their weapons priming for firing solutions. Through the viewport, I could see our pilot, Lieutenant Chen, waving frantically for us to hurry. We piled in, explosive decompression protocols sealing behind us, and Chen punched the throttle before we'd even fully detached. The shuttle screamed away from the dreadnought, pushing tolerances that would make any sane engineer weep. Behind us, the Karshen fleet opened fire, not on us but on their own ship. Massive energy weapons reducing 3 kilometers of dreadnought to expanding plasma. They were making sure no one got anything useful from it. Or maybe they were just making sure Lyra couldn't tell us what she knew. We made it to our frigate, the Relentless, with seconds to spare. The Karshen fleet could have pursued, could have destroyed us easily, but they didn't. They just sat there in the debris field, watching us jump to FTL, letting us go. That bothered me more than if they'd attacked. It meant they weren't worried. It meant they thought it didn't matter. Debriefing took 6 hours. Command wanted to know everything about the dreadnought, about Lyra, about what she was and what she could do. I told them the truth. She was a weapon they'd built to kill us, and she'd chosen not to. That had to count for something. Captain Martinez, the Relentless's CO, looked at Lyra with the kind of cold assessment that made me instinctively step between them. "Can she be trusted?" Martinez asked me. "Can any of us?" I replied. "She saved our lives up there, could have killed us a dozen times, chose not to. That's more trustworthy than half the people I've served with." Martinez didn't look convinced, but she authorized temporary quarters under guard, medical evaluation, and a full intelligence debrief scheduled for the next day. Lyra went quietly, those violet eyes watching everything, taking in the human ship, human crew, human chaos with something like wonder. Before the guards led her away, she looked back at me. "Thank you," she said, "for giving me the choice." I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Kept thinking about the moment I touched her hand, about the voice saying I'd activated a weapon, about how close we'd come to extinction delivered in a beautiful package with silver eyes. But also about the way she'd fought the programming, chosen to help us, learned to use tools designed for death to save lives instead. That was the most human thing I'd ever seen. And she wasn't even human. Around 0400 hours, alarms started blaring. Not ship alarms, cell alarms. Lyra's holding area. I was up and running before I'd fully processed it, grabbing my sidearm, taking the corridors at a dead sprint. The guards outside her cell were unconscious. Not dead, just stunned. The door hung open, and inside, Lyra stood facing the wall, both hands pressed against it, energy crackling around her. "Be, Lyra, what are you doing?" She turned, and I saw tears on her face, actual tears, silver and luminous and heartbreaking. "They're calling me, the Karshen. They have a recall protocol, a fail-safe in case I went rogue. It's pulling at me, pulling so hard, trying to drag me back to them. I came here because the hull is thicker, harder for the signal to penetrate, but it's not enough. Marcus, I can feel it overriding my choices, feel the programming reasserting itself. I don't want to go back. I don't want to be their weapon. But I don't know if I can resist much longer." I stepped into the cell, holstered my sidearm, stupid for the third time in 24 hours. Then we cut the signal, jam it, block it, whatever we have to do. You can't. It's quantum entangled, operates outside normal space. They can reach me anywhere in the universe as long as the implants are active. Then we deactivate the implants. She laughed, bitter and broken. You can't. They're integrated with my entire nervous system. Remove them and I die. Deactivate them and I die. They made sure I could never be free, never be anything but theirs. I wanted to punch something. Wanted to grab whoever had done this to her and make them understand what it felt like to be trapped in your own body, your own choices stripped away. But rage wasn't useful. Rage wouldn't save her. I thought about Chen holding that corridor, about my mother sending us away, about every impossible choice I'd seen people make when the only options were bad and worse. "There's another option," I said quietly. "Not deactivating the implants, changing what they connect to." She stared at me. "What?" "The implants are trying to connect you to their network, right? Pulling you back into their system. But what if we gave them something else to connect to, something closer, something stronger, something human?" "Marcus, that's insane. You're talking about linking your nervous system to Karshen military hardware designed to control biological weapons. It could kill you. It could turn you into what they tried to make me. Or it could give you something to hold on to. An anchor. A choice that's yours because someone chose to give it to you." I sat down on the floor, back against the wall, and looked up at her. "I've spent 17 years fighting this war, lost everyone I cared about, watched good people die for inches of ground we'd lose the next day. I'm tired, Lyra, so tired. But if I can do one thing that actually matters, one thing that saves a life instead of ending one, then maybe all of it was worth something. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you chose to fight your own programming to save people you'd never met. I know you used weapons designed for destruction to protect instead. I know you cried at the thought of hurting anyone. That's all I need to know." She slid down the wall beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. "You're all insane," she whispered. "Every human I've read about in their databases, every story, every historical record, you're all completely insane. You take risks no sane species would take, make sacrifices that defy all logic, choose hope when hope is mathematically impossible." "Yeah," I agreed. "We're pretty stupid that way. It's kind of our thing. And that's why we're losing. The Karshen. I mean, we don't understand you, can't predict you. You do things that should fail and they succeed anyway because you don't know when to quit. They made me to kill you, but they didn't understand that to kill humanity, you'd have to kill hope. And hope doesn't live in bodies or ships or planets. It lives in choices, in moments like this, where someone offers to bind their nervous system to alien hardware just so someone else can stay free." "Is that a yes?" She laughed. Real laughter this time, musical and alive. "You're insane. But yes. If you're willing to be that stupid, then yes." The procedure took 3 hours and damn near killed both of us. Our chief medical officer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, supervised with the kind of resigned expression that said she knew exactly how this would look in her medical review. Connecting human neurology to Karshen biotechnology through nothing but jury-rigged interfaces and hope was the kind of thing that ended careers or lives. The pain was indescribable, like being burned and frozen simultaneously, like every nerve ending firing at once, like your brain was being rewritten in a language it didn't speak. Lyra screamed. I screamed. Tanaka kept working, making adjustments, rerouting connections, swearing in 3 languages, and slowly, impossibly, it started to stabilize. I could feel her, not just physically but deeper, her thoughts, her emotions, her terror and hope and fierce determination all bleeding through the connection, and she could feel me. My memories of New Cascadia burning, of my sister's cold hand, of Ramos dying in a mining station, of every loss and grief and moment of rage that had defined me for 17 years. We were tangled together, 2 minds sharing space, neither controlling the other, but both supporting each other. The Karshen signal came again, pulling at her, trying to drag her back. But now it had to go through me first. And I was stubborn. I'd held pressure on femoral arteries for hours. I'd stayed conscious through injuries that should have killed me. I'd kept fighting when fighting was stupid. One more impossible thing didn't seem like much. I pushed back. The signal fractured, confused by the human presence in its network. It tried to adapt, to root around me, but Lyra was there too, learning from my resistance, adding her own will to mine. Together we were stronger than the protocol, more complex than its programming could account for. It retreated, not gone but weakened, manageable. Something she could resist now, with me to help bear the weight. We woke up 12 hours later, still connected, still tangled together in ways that would take weeks to fully map. Tanaka told us we'd both died twice during the procedure, that she'd had to restart our hearts manually, that by all rights we should be vegetables or corpses. Instead, we were something new. Not human, not whatever Lyra had been before, but something in between. A bridge between species built from stubbornness and choice. Command didn't know what to make of us, neither did I. But over the next few weeks, as we learned to live with the connection, to separate our thoughts while still maintaining the link, something became clear. Lyra had access to Karshen intelligence, strategic data, fleet movements, technology specifications, everything they'd loaded into her weaponized brain. And through me, she could translate it, explain it, teach us how to fight them more effectively. But more than that, she understood them. Understood their fear of humanity, their desperate need for order, their inability to comprehend a species that refused to follow rational patterns. She'd been their ultimate weapon, designed to end us, and she'd chosen us instead. That choice, that one moment of defiance, was worth more than any intelligence she could provide. 6 months later, I was back in the field. Not as a solo operator anymore, but as part of a team. Lyra came with me, learning to be human by working alongside humans, learning to trust by being trusted. We ran ops against Karshen positions, liberating captured colonies, disrupting supply lines, doing the work of ghosts with guns. But now when we fought smarter, using her knowledge and my experience, adapting faster than the Karshen could predict. We weren't winning yet. The war was still grinding on, still chewing through lives and ships and hope. But we were holding, and more importantly, we were showing the Karshen something they hadn't counted on. That their weapons could choose. That programming could be overcome. That in a universe built on cold logic and ancient hierarchies, sometimes stubborn hope and stupid courage were enough. On Tarvis Prime, where my squad died, we erected a memorial. Simple stone, names carved deep, including Ramos and Jackson and Chen and all the others who gave everything. Lyra stood beside me while I traced Jackson's name with my fingers, feeling the weight of all those losses, all those choices that led us here. "Do you regret it?" she asked, saving me, connecting with me, all the complications it's caused. I thought about it. Thought about the pain and the risk and the sheer insanity of linking my nervous system to alien hardware just so someone I'd just met could stay free. Thought about every stupid, impossible choice that had brought me to this moment. "Not even for a second," I said, and I meant it. Because that's what we do. We're human. We see someone hurting and we help, even when it's stupid. We see someone trapped and we free them, even when it costs us. We face impossible odds and we try anyway, because trying is what defines us. The Karshen built a weapon to end humanity. Instead, they gave us something better. They gave us proof that choice matters, that connection is stronger than programming, that even in the darkest corners of the universe, hope can take root and grow. They gave us Lyra, and she gave us herself, freely, choosing every day to be more than what they made her. To help us, not because she was programmed to, but because she wanted to. That's the most human thing in the universe. Not our technology or our tactics, or our stubborn refusal to quit. Our ability to choose who we want to be, even when the universe tells us we're already decided. The war goes on. It always does. But now when I fight, I'm not fighting alone. I have Lyra beside me, a living reminder that no matter how dark it gets, no matter how much the odds are stacked against us, we can still make choices that matter. We can still surprise even ourselves with what we're capable of when we refuse to accept the limitations placed on us. The Karshen thought they'd created the perfect weapon against humanity. Instead, they created the perfect example of what makes us human. The ability to take something designed for destruction and turn it into salvation. The ability to see a person where others see a tool. The ability to offer hope when hope should be impossible. They told me I was the best. Elite Recon, Tier 1, the soldier they send when everyone else is dead. I wore that badge with pride once. Now I wear something better. I wear the trust of someone who chose to be free, chose to be human, chose to stand with us even when she didn't have to. Her name is Lyra, and she's family. That's what humanity, fuck yeah, really means. Not that we're stronger or smarter or better, but that we see the impossible and we try anyway. We see the darkness and we light a fire. We see someone hurting and we reach out our hand, even knowing it might cost us everything. Especially knowing it might cost us everything. Because some choices are worth making, regardless of the cost. Some people are worth saving, regardless of the risk. And some connections are worth forging, even if they break every rule and defy all logic. On Deck 7 of that derelict dreadnought, I touched her hand and woke a weapon meant to end mankind. Instead, I found a person, and that made all the difference.